Alright everyone, so in this video I'm going to walk you through some code, some prompts as a prompt engineering practice. At the same time walk you through an example of how would you analyze an audio, and using that audio how would you further get an entire meeting minutes from that audio transcription. Alright, so let's get started. What you see on your screen is a Visual Studio Code. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. If not, you can simply download that Visual Studio Code and you will get a screen like this. Again, not exactly like this. This is, I have opened up one file, but you will get something like this here. And here is what I have opened up as a terminal. Let me see if I can exit out of a terminal. That way we have everything cleaned out for you. Yeah. Here we go. We have no terminal open here. We have simply a file here. I'm going to show you from where I got that file in just a second. But let me start with new terminal. Here we go. I got a new terminal here and I'm in this mode, deactivate. Let me remove or at least get rid of any environments what I'm part of, because I want to start something fresh, so that you can start something fresh. All right, so we have something completely new here. I opened this file. It's called Python Amazon earning call analysis file. I will walk you through what this file is, but you can find this file on a GitHub. I will share this link as well in the notes section. But coming back to the Visual Studio Code now, what we want to do is we want to take the earning call of any company. In this case, I'm taking it as an example from Amazon. So this is the Amazon earning call. Here we go. This is the link. Within that Amazon earning call website, there is a link called webcast. And a webcast is nothing but a WAV file, WAV file, audio file. So I'm taking that, I'm saving that link as, and it will show me an option that's saving the link as a full call V1 of 2024. The reason I'm not saving it right now because I already have saved it in my drive somewhere. Here we go. You see that on my drive here. So once we have this file, we go back to the code base here. We will take this code, raw code as is. So you can do a raw copy, and we can go back to the Visual Studio and you can simply paste it as is. Now what we're going to do, I will walk you through the code in a second, but we want to start executing the code. To execute the code, we'll need to install few libraries first. And before we install any libraries, what I want to do is I want to have this library in a self-contained environment so it doesn't affect my other functionality what I may have within my Mac. So to do that, what I'm going to do is Python has a very good concept called virtual environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a virtual environment. This is the command I'm executing, python -m venv, and I'm naming the virtual environment as Amazon env, amzn env. The reason it's just you can name whatever you want, but since I'm doing a call analysis of Amazon, I thought why not use that as a term. And now boom, we got a virtual environment. How do I know? Here I go in my explorer of VSS and I see that Amazon env got created here. So okay, that's a good thing. Now it's just not like this, but you also need to, once you create the environment, you need to source that environment. So what I'm going to do is Amazon env bin, and I'm going to activate that environment as a part of my overall functionality. So now what I got is I'm inside the Amazon virtual environment. What I need to do now is install some of those libraries. I'm using some libraries like OpenAI, docx, PyDub, and I'll tell you what we are doing with each of these libraries. But let me start installing that so that we get to start seeing things. So what I'm doing is I'm installing OpenAI as a library because many of my code is using OpenAI models, like Whisper models, GPT-4o models, and things like those to do this analysis. So I got the OpenAI installed. The next one I'm doing is I'm installing a library called PyDub. why PyDub? Let me clear this out. Why PyDub? PyDub is kind of allowing us to segment the audio. If you look at that file, what I was talking about, 538 MB file, it's huge. Probably it's an hour, maybe a 90-minute file. And if we want to use that file as is, and if we feed that file as is to the model to do a transcription first, kind of converting your audio into text, it may not accept that as an input. So that means you need to chunk it. Chunk being a 5-minute audio chunk or a 3-minute audio chunk or whatnot. And to do that, we are using this module called PyDub. And what I want to do at the end of my process, whatever I'm doing, at the end, whatever the result I get, the text output, I want to use that or convert that text output into a Word document. Because once I have that in a Word document, it's easy to read, right? So what I'm doing as a part of that, I'm installing a module called python-docx. And as a result of that, the python-docx module will allow me to do all the good things what I want to do. So now we got all the basic requirements satisfied. What I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this code. How do we execute that code? We simply call Python 3. I mean, this is Python 3 or 3.8, 3.9, what I have here. And I'm going to make call on the file name, Amazon earning call analysis.py. I will walk you through while this execution is ongoing so that you understand what I'm doing here. But let it flow and let's see if there are any other missing item I have which we need to satisfy. But looks like it's only complaining about FFmpeg. That should be fine. But it hasn't complained about any module missing or any syntax error or whatnot. So I think we are good here from a code point of view. So let me walk you through the entire code while this process is ongoing, right? So what we see here is this is the sort of we are bringing all the import or the modules into the system. Then what we are invoking we are OpenAI as a part of the process. I'm creating a thread, bringing a client as a part of my SDK call of OpenAI. And what I would be doing is I would be interacting with OpenAI APIs. Whether it's on the Whisper model, whether it's a GPT 3.5, GPT 4o model, doesn't matter, but I am going to interact with that API. That means I need to have OpenAI API key created. This is not like a chat GPT where you go to chat.gpt, like something like this here. This is not, we are not doing this, right? So what we are doing is we are applying an API. And as a part of that, I have created few APIs. So here, these are my API keys. But going back to the code, this is where you would create the API. If you need a new API, create a new secret key, whether it's your account, service account, how you want to do it, which project you want to do it, what kind of permission you want to set, whether it's read only or you are also doing a read write functionality, depends on what your use case is. You can create that API key. In my scenario, I already have that created API key, and what I have done is I have stored that OpenAI or that API key as an environment variable within my operating system. So each operating system would have their own way of storing environment variables. So I'm not going to go through the details of how would you store this, but your environment name should be OpenAI underscore API underscore key, and you would equal to, you would give a value of whatever that value of your API key is, and you export that variable. That way it's available to the environment. Okay, now that thing gone away, let's walk through the code. So I'm defining few functions. So I will not walk through the function first. This is transcribed audio function. This is a meeting minutes function, then abstract summary extraction, and then key point extractions, and then action item extraction, and then what we see is the sentiment analysis, and we see one more function called save as docx, and finally this is the actual code we are executing. So we are giving a variable audio file path which we stored locally. I'm calling a transcription, and as a part of the transcription I'm calling a function transcribe audio, which we will take a look at now in a second. And after that, once we have the transcription ready, I'm calling a function called meeting minutes, and I'm feeding my whatever transcription we created as a result of this earlier function. And finally, I'm printing it on our screen so that we get to see what it is. But at the same time, I'm saving as a docx file into a file name called Amazon meeting minutes.docx. Right. So these are like 4 or 5 lines of the code, but let's look at some of those functions, what we are calling behind the scene. So the very first one is transcribe audio, because we are getting this everything in an audio format and we need to convert that from audio to text. So this is kind of converting into a chunk of various minutes chunk, and then we are feeding that chunk into a model called Whisper model. Whisper 1 is the model, and all this Whisper model will do is convert that audio into text. So speech to text is what Whisper model is doing. We take that and we get in a chunk because we are sending a chunk, and at the end of the day we need to have a full transcription, so we are kind of joining things together, right? So that's the one function we looked at. Now when we get to the meeting minutes, we are invoking other subfunction like abstract summary, key point summary, action item, and sentiment analysis. All things together will give us some meeting minutes. So let's look at each of this function. The abstract summary extraction, all it's doing is we are creating a prompt, and in this scenario we have created what we call a system prompt. System prompt which allows us to set the foundation. So what we are telling the model that you are a highly skilled AI trained in language comprehension and summarization, right? Because what we want from this entire transcript is to summarize key points and then give us some more information about without we need to read the entire text, because that entire text could be 50, maybe 100 page long, we don't know. But we simply want a summary version, and that's where this is. We are telling this model that you are expert in this, and now you take that action and give me a concise abstract paragraph. So that's on the summary aspect of it. The other function or other thing we are doing is we are extracting the key points. What were the key points discussed during that entire 90-minute meeting? And to do that, we are creating another system prompt, and we are telling that you are special in distilling the information into key points. So kind of we are telling the model that you are expert in key point generation. And then we tell some more things, that you need to identify the important ideas, the findings, and then many good things, what we typically want as a part of the key extraction. The third thing what we are doing is we are asking model to identify action items from the meetings, because in the meetings there could be many things may have happened, and as a part of that, what action items, who is taking, and all good things. So here is we are telling that you are analyzing conversation and extracting action items, and then we are adding some more information as a part of that third input. And fourth is more in the sentiment analysis. What do I mean by that is we want to identify whether in this transcript do we see a positive tone, we see a negative tone, or a neutral tone, right? Because quite often if management is not confident, we will hear some negative sentiments from the company management. But in this scenario, we may not see that negative sentiment. We will take a look at the result, and then that will give us more idea. But this is that sentiment analysis. Again, model is doing that sentiment analysis. And finally, we are saving that as a document file. So looks like our result is ready. Let me zoom, or at least scroll up a little bit. Now what we see is a raw text that in Amazon this, in AWS this, revenue this. But again, in this view, we cannot sort of read it, right? So remember, we took an output as a docx. So what I'm going to do is, here we go. We got an output at today at 1:11. Yep, right time. And I'm going to open that. And here we go. We got this file open here, ready. Abstract summary. This is the summary of an entire call. Then the key points. Then we get to the action items. Again, I'm not going through the line by line items here. Just want to highlight that what we ask it to do, it is doing it. And finally, we got a sentiment. So we can take a look at quick pick, positive financial result. So it's a positive sentiment. Optimism and confidence, that's a positive sentiment. Growth and innovation is a positive sentiment. They are also acknowledging the challenges. So whatever the challenges they might be having as a part of business, sort of a neutral or whatnot. But we got this entire thing stored in a document format, just a 5-page document out of that entire 500 megabyte of audio file. And if we go back to our code, let me scroll this down, guys. So altogether we got what, 129 lines of code, less than 130 lines of code. We were able to do this in just about 10 minutes or less. And then from a cost point of view also, it's not that costly. So now finally we got what we wanted. What I want to do is at the end of the day, since I'm done with my virtual environment, I want to deactivate it so that I can come back to my original work, what I was doing before doing this analysis, and I can continue it further for the next functionality. So I'm hoping that you learn few things as a result of this video. One is definitely the Python code. Again, you don't need to write Python code from scratch. You can take examples from somewhere and then stitch things together and then make your own further enhancement into it and build upon it. Now, just be careful that the code where you are using from somebody's code, again, I'm not teaching you to steal the code, but take a look at the licenses, take a look at how that code is being created. Is there any security vulnerabilities or whatnot? So all those things you need to be worried about. If there are any legal concerns, you need to speak to your lawyers. But at the end of the day, for toy example, for academic purpose, you can do something like this. And once you have the code, you can interact with APIs, pre-trained models like GPT-4. You can take a audio file. From audio, you can get a transcript out, and then you can analyze this audio file and get it into a Word document, which you can leverage or you can give to your business users and say, hey, this is Amazon's transcript summary, right? In less than 25 cents, you will be able to do this entirely for one company. So this is where we are from a function point of view, from a code point of view. Hope you liked it, enjoyed it, and feel free to comment out in the comment section. Thank you.